you probably have this question: if God is good, then why is there so much evil? And basically, a lot of people have had this question. It's probably as old as time itself. But when you ask this question, the answer isn't really what you want to hear or what it should be. The answer is basically sometimes just a way of wavering or feeding you a bit until you get hungry again for more answers. And in this back and forth, these questions, God is God good, is God evil, why is there so much evil in the world? I was able to create something called Qodesh. And this isn't just from an observational standpoint, because I've had my own experience too, and it did a couple of things. So for me, I'm born Christian, but I wasn't following Christ at the beginning of let's say like last 2 years. It's 2026, last 2 years. So at 2024, I was planning to go like to school abroad and everything. I was getting denied visa once, twice, thrice, up until 6 times. And in those times, I felt like God just probably is not really hearing my prayers, just not answering. I just feel like maybe I'm not praying more, maybe I'm not fasting more. Maybe there's something wrong from an individualistic standpoint. I just feel like, well, something is wrong. So instead of just turning my back on the whole Christian faith thing, I was then pushed to like get to know more, like what really is happening. What really is happening? Because for some people, after getting denied, the door stamps in your face. Like it's not just once or twice, but 6 good times the door gets slammed in your face. You probably just pick up your bags and be like, oh no, I think I might just leave the whole Christian stuff and walk out. So this actually started from like way back, but it got more serious this year. So I'm not a pastor, I'm not a theologian. I'm just someone that when I read the Bible for myself, not from someone telling me something on the pulpit. When I actually read the Bible, I really looked into it. I actually saw some things that really add up, like God blessing the midwives after they lied to Pharaoh. But we know when I meant to lie, and God blessing Jacob after he deceived his father and stole his brother's blessing. I was like, what? Because Jacob was sleeping, he was sleeping. Then God came to him and told him, I'll make a nation out of you, I'll bless you. And I'm like, this guy just did something wrong, very, very wrong. And I'm like, why? Then also the classic hardening of Pharaoh's heart and then judging him for it. That was like mind blowing. How would you harden my own heart and judge me for it? It's like programming me to go that way, and I go that way, and then you judge me for it. Like, so I was like, things are really adding up. They're not really adding up, and I was like, okay, let's just see. Because I started reading the Old Testament this year. Normally, I read the New Testament, and I'm fascinated by Jesus Christ's work and his speech and everything. I love those. But when you then read the Old Testament, you then find out like, wait, are you sure it's the same person we're talking about? You say he's the Son of God, right? But like, this two look like two different people. You see, the person in the Old Testament is doing something strange, and the person in the New Testament is doing something different. So like, I had to actually sit down and think, read the Bible, and actually understand what's really happening. That's what I came up with Qodesh. So my name is Brian Dede, not Dede, and I basically a systems thinker, and I apply the same systems thinking approach and rigor to things that I get interested in. So I'm just starting my first YouTube video with Qodesh because Qodesh is my official first book. But I've had other works like Rule of Everyone, Skill Stack Series, SDS, and some other things. So I basically interested in economics, I'm cybersecurity students, and I basically apply the same systems thinking approach, even to economics. And it's really interesting when you begin to see things, interconnected and depending on one another, something like that. So I created Qodesh to actually pose a framework for understanding how God operates, who God is, understanding who God is. And it's just a framework, and I know there will be questions, but it gives a firmer ground compared to the traditional framework we've all just been handed to before we even had the chance to ask questions. And when you ask questions, you might be seen as a what's it called, blasphemous being, or maybe sometimes a hypocrite. So, well, I just had to read it for myself and see what's really going on here. Even the part where he sent a lying spirit to the mouth of the prophets so he can die. So without further ado, let's dive into Qodesh. Okay, so this framework all starts with one question: trying to understand what power really is. So actually trying to understand God, or trying to understand who God is, then I realized, okay, we basically call God the Almighty. It's powerful. So I think, okay, why don't I start from here to understand if He's all powerful, He should have the power to stop all this. So I try to understand what really is power. Not the ones we've been told power is, what we think power is, but what really is power. So, and this is the question that's basically been bugging everyone, just like that itch at the back of your head. Is God good? If God is good, why is there so much evil? And you could be in a congregation, you could be sitting down, just listening to the pastor, to the preacher, just saying one or two things, and you're like, are you sure God is good? Like, if He's good, why is there so much evil? Why did that child have cancer? Why did fire? And you could all give answers like free will and some of that stuff. But it doesn't really fit the question. It doesn't really fit like an answer to the question. So the traditional answers don't really satisfy the honest seeker. And me as a seeker, I pose a framework that it won't really sit well with you, if you know what I mean. But it will give you something to actually chew on and think about. Really think about. Like, this could actually make sense even in the process of writing this book, because this is the episode 1 of the deep dive series of the book. I actually have to debunk my own theory. Like, I actually think, oh, I'm actually wrong, I shouldn't. And it's inside the book, it's surely inside the book. So normally when you observe power, you usually look at, okay, this person probably looks powerful. We think this person is the most powerful. Then we try to look at maybe strength, following, likes, and so on and so on. We always think, okay, this person should be the most powerful. But when you try to analyze the dynamics of power, the physics of power, trying to really look at what power is, strip it down to its bones, you then realize that what you've been handed to as power isn't really power. What you've been handed to as power is a facade. What you think is power is just a facade given to you by someone so you can maybe stay in line. And instead of just observing the likes, the follow, and that, I try to like remove the whole thing blocking the view and try to look at the construction of power. Because power is it's something funny. Now move to the definition in a bit. So to actually understand what power was, I first laid out 3 archetypes. I laid out the all evil archetype, I laid out the all good archetype, and I laid out the neutral archetype. And I didn't even lay out the neutral archetype until something happened. So let's start with the evil archetype. So the evil archetype, we think, okay, this person should probably be the most powerful. For some of us, he has no conscience, he's not restrained, he appears to hold raw dominance and will crush anything or anyone in his way, regardless of who you may be, old, young, it doesn't matter. You just have to not be in the way of evil. So there's no restraint. The evil person is just acting out of like the appetites, hunger for control, hunger for power, all those things. So that's what we think, that the evil archetype should be the most powerful. So, but when you look at it, it has a flaw. So the evil person, person's power is very, very loud. It keeps everybody in line, like he said, but it's brittle. This person has to spend a lot of energy trying to maintain the power. So he has to spend a lot of energy keeping those people in fear. So, because if they're not in fear, they will not really do your bidding. They will just be like, nah, he can't do anything. And when you start to like shake, quiver, or try to do things that don't seem like you're that sort of like evil person anymore, people start getting wary and try to like, okay, it's actually breaking down. So we can actually plan our next move, maybe even a coup, and take this guy out. So the power then collapses. The structure of that power just collapses because it's loud, but it's brittle, and you have to maintain, and you have to use enough energy to maintain it. So, but the core problem with the evil person is this: the person is readable, and a readable person is a controllable person. So the idea of power is that this person can be unpredictable. Okay, I'll give you an example. The leaders we have, they try to pose the ability to be unpredictable. Because the moment you are predictable or readable, you can then dangle what's needed in front of them. Maybe they need control over certain resources, dangle in front of them, and boom, they hump on it, they get to it. So the weakness of this evil archetype is that this person really, really, really is controllable due to his or appetite. The person is hungry for power, for control, for dominance. Just dangle in front of them like a carrot, and they will get to it. So greed, malice can be used as tools to actually capture this person. But then we move to the next archetype, the good archetype. This person is loyal, is principled. The person is bound by a code of conduct. Always tell the truth, save the innocent. Don't kill, Batman. Refuse to compromise and all that. So this person really has like a manual, a code of conduct that, all right, okay, these are things I will do and things I will not do. And this then creates a cage for the good archetype. So this good person can't really walk out of the boundaries of goodness. The person has to operate in those boundaries of goodness. And that's where the problem of the good archetype comes in. His virtue becomes a cage. A person cannot compromise because the person is a good person. You can't do things that are not within the boundaries of good, because when you do them, you're not seen as a good person. So take Batman for an example. So Batman cannot the Joker knows that Batman is a good person, and his game that he wouldn't kill people, he wouldn't do things like kill people, kill the innocent and all. So the Joker basically uses the civilians, the individuals, as shield. So he could strap a bomb around them and use them as a shield. So he has basically handed the Joker his manual. So that virtue then turns into a cage for them. And then we move on to the neutral archetype. And honestly, what really happened when this neutral archetype hit me was this. So when I realized, oh, we've been thinking between good and evil. What if there's a third variable? So I picked up my phone and actually tested my friend. Bro, I think I found the third variable in theology. I was like, there's a lot of those. I was like, no, just listen. So I explained to him the neutral archetype, and like the neutral archetype owes no allegiance to anyone. There's no fixed shape, there's no fixed route. Person can basically wake up in the morning, shake with the evil person, in the evening, high five the good person. It doesn't matter. He's just doing what neutral people do. Be like water, be fluid, take the shape of the container. So I actually thought this could be the answer. This could be the actual answer of the neutral archetype. But I was wrong. Now, the people is evil is trapped and good is constrained by their own virtue. But neutral is still inside the system. Neutral is still relative to evil and to good. So neutral is neutral because evil and good exists. So it's relative to evil and good. So it's still operating in that system. And we needed to understand the physics of the absolutes. This person is still dependent and still inside the system or the neutral or the system of the inside the spectrum, and that still gives it a hindrance because neutral, good, and evil have friction. But we are looking for something that is absolute, no friction. So with all this, I was able to bring out the definition of power. Power, what is power then? Power then is the ability to translate intent to reality with zero resistance. I mean, just do or say something and it happens without any friction. If you look at the evil person has resistance. The people, the good person has resistance. Their own selves, they are resistant. They are the resistance. The neutral person still has the resistance, which is inside the spectrum. So you can't really operate to be detached from it. So the person still has to operate in that spectrum. So power is not really influence, it's not force, but it's the frictionless execution of will. And a typical example of this is let there be light. So if you read the Bible or if you know the beginning story, the beginning, let there be light, and boom, there was light. There wasn't any way, should light be like this, or we don't want lights, we prefer the darkness. It was just like let there be light, and there was light. So there was no fight, there was no struggle, there was no friction going against the word. It was just let there be light, and there was light. So that's literal example of what power is. Your ability to actually turn your intent to reality with zero friction. That is very, very powerful. And it's something like alchemy, turning nothing into something, turning lead into gold. So that's the idea. You're basically turning nothing into something, your intent into reality. And that's what I define power as. So these three, as I've stated, they all have their resistance. So the evil is resisted by the oppressed, the good is resisted by their own rules, and the neutral is resisted by the spectrum. So even the neutral is defined by what it avoids and is not truly free. So the neutral is still defined by what he or she avoids and is not truly free because it's relative to evil and good. So keeping it still in that spectrum. It has power, maybe out of the three, but it's not the most powerful thing you could mention. So after all this, I was then, all right, I think I got the answer. When I actually thought, okay, yeah, since neutral is most powerful, I think God should be what's made neutral. Like, he should be at the top of the pyramid, should be at the top of the spectrum, sitting right there, being neutral, just using good as tool, using evil as tool, and just doing what he does, being God. I was actually thought I was wrong, right for some time, but I was actually wrong because, as I've previously stated, I was still placing God in the spectrum. God is still in the spectrum. He's still. What I'm then saying is he's only relatively he's neutral. Neutrality is just relative to good and relative to evil. But for the time being, it didn't feel like it answered the question of why he hadn't Pharaoh's heart. He's neutral. Why he blessed the Hebrew, the midwives and all. Because he's neutral. Why he blessed Jacob? It did answer the question for some time, but it wasn't the answer. God isn't on the scale. He's basically the reason why there is a scale. He's the environment in which the spectrum exists. And this is going to be better answered in episode 2 because I'll be breaking it down to where God sits and why he's there, what he actually is. Not the thing where, okay, you give me to a Christian home and then you sit down and be like, oh, you're a Christian. Yeah, God's all good. Take it or leave it. And you have to like take it because they're basically shoving it down your throat and you don't have time to breathe. Well, my time for breathing but start from denial. And I guess yours will start from this video. So I guess that concludes Qodesh episode 1. Episode 2 is coming soon, and you can read the full framework of the book Qodesh, and I'll pin it down in the comment section in the description. So the book is Qodesh, it's God, Good or Evil. You have a 9-part series, and it's very, very interesting.